Hello, everyone. This is Teru Nakashima. Welcome to today's episode of All About Self-Esteem. I want to speak with you about an invisible current that flows through our lives, one that shapes us more powerfully than we often recognize. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This is not merely a saying. It is a phenomenon I have witnessed repeatedly throughout my 20 years working with thousands of individuals seeking to transform their lives. The watershed of your life garden. Recently, in the lounge of a Tokyo hotel, I spoke with a brilliant, passionate executive who couldn't understand why his company lacked vitality despite his best efforts. "What trees have you planted in your garden?" when I asked him. At first, he didn't grasp my meaning, but as our conversation unfolded, he began to see the people with whom he exchanged energy daily. And then the realization dawned. Almost all the trees in his garden were of the same variety. Trees that face the morning sun. Some individuals stand like trees constantly bathed in morning light. They ask why and how can this improve, extending their branches toward the future. One of my students possessed from childhood an innate belief that tomorrow will surely be better. But after entering the professional world, she found herself surrounded by voices saying, "That's impossible," and "be realistic." Her tree began to lean gradually away from the morning sun and toward the shadows. She found her light again only after joining a community of tomorrow believers. Once she began spending time, even just monthly, with trees that also reached toward the morning light, her branches and leaves once again stretched toward the sun. Trees that feel the rain. Other trees sensitively detect the rain. They spread delicate leaves that perceive what's happening and where are the problems. One client possessed an extraordinary ability to identify organizational issues before anyone else. But because he was surrounded by trees that only detected problems, the entire forest gradually became shrouded in dark shadows. Change came to his forest when he began interacting with different varieties of trees, those that saw possibilities. Though he initially felt uncomfortable, after 6 months, a new atmosphere began to flow through the entire forest. Trees that sense the wind. Still, other trees are sensitive to the flow of wind. They instinctively feel, who am I with and what currents are flowing? A young assistant in my research laboratory was this type of tree. Extremely sensitive to the forest's airflow, she couldn't display her true beauty in places with poor circulation. She consciously chose to spend time in forests where gentle winds flowed. Remarkably, her own leaves regained their vivid green, and she became able to carry her seeds far and wide on the breeze. Trees that connect with the earth. Finally, there are trees that value their connection to the ground. They extend their roots into what is certain and what fruits will come. An editor at a publishing house was precisely this type of tree. His eyes were constantly fixed on soil quality, missing not even a grain of sand. But because he was surrounded by similar trees, the entire forest focused solely on roots, nearly forgetting to extend branches skyward. What brought change to his forest was interaction with entirely different types of trees. Meeting trees grown in different soils broadened his perspective and yielded richer fruits. 3 wisdoms for nurturing your forest. So how can you nurture your own forest? Let me share 3 wisdoms I've learned from years of observation. Observe your forest. First, quietly observe what kinds of trees grow around you. What wind, light, rain, and soil do they bring you? Is your tree flourishing in this environment? Sow new seeds. Have the courage to visit forests where different types of trees grow. This doesn't mean cutting down existing trees. It means adding new varieties. Nurture your own roots and branches. Remember that you are part of someone else's forest. As you flourish, the forest around you flourishes too. Recently, at what we call the Forest Festival for graduates of our Self-Esteem Academy, I asked, "How has your forest changed?" Many replied, "It's an entirely different ecosystem now." And fascinatingly, the landscape of their lives had transformed dramatically as well. Like plants, we all absorb nutrients from our surroundings. The energy you exchange daily influences everything from your roots to your branch tips. Strong roots come from rich soil, straight trunks from proper light, spreading branches from quality air, and beautiful flowers and fruitful harvest from the harmony of all these elements. As you continue on your journey today, become conscious of your forest. Gradually create an environment that supports your growth. May your forest be filled with diverse and abundant vitality. Thank you for listening to this episode of All About Self-Esteem. This is Teru Nakashima with gratitude.